it was just so exciting. It was fresh. It was new. It was like, it almost felt like a bit of an exclusive club. It didn't matter what area you were from or where you were from or what football team you supported. Everyone came together as one. Yeah. The rave was our life.
Because it didn't matter about your skin colour, it didn't matter about this and that. And these things come into play later on, like, oh, like you can't go there or you can't do this. But back then it was just like all these people under one roof just dancing and doing what they want in this scene.
When I first started going raving, there was no fear.
I've been with him in the day. He's bloody raving all day. 24-hour party over here.
No point arguing with an egg.
Yeah. No. I can't wait to a time where we do 2 shows and then back home at 10:30, 11 at night for kebab and match of the day.
SaSaSaS show. Best of the best of the best with the very fresh flow.
Yes, people. Welcome back to the SaSaS podcast. Myself, Shabba, Harry Shotter, Fantasy. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Life and laughter. We're back. What's the subject today, lads?
Yeah, what are we talking about, man?
Let's talk about raving in 2023 and what is the difference between raving now and raving back in the day. So we got to take the aspect of when we were ravers.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, we want to take it from the artist perspective as well. So, supposedly I was probably raving the first out of the 3 of us. So I think, in our world, in the rave world, what I loved about raving back then and what got me into the whole scene in the first place was it was just so exciting. It was fresh. It was new. It was like, it almost felt like a bit of an exclusive club. Do you know what I mean? It was like... you know about it. If you're in the know, you're in the know. And it actually, how I found out about it all come from football. So like obviously people that are into football, like football hooligans and everything back in the day, that was a lot of that kind of world where the people that were into, don't get me wrong, it wasn't just football hooligans, but that's how you sort of found out about it through that sort of
that crowd,
that crowd, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you've got people, there's still some people about now that were back then, like, Paul Ibiza, I know he's still about, Phil Desire, and there's like Kenny Ken, these people were about then still doing their thing now. But if you think about it, I would never have met the people I've met if it wasn't for this thing. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have even met you two if it wasn't for this.
Of course, music brings people together and
totally.
And it's good to share that experience with the whole thing, because like how I got into it as well was more like warehouse parties.
Yeah.
I come from going to like just little shebeens, they used to call it, in the flats, like reggae little things in people's flats, and it was like people, meet on the 9th floor, and
the little blues party vibes, the shubs.
Party.
Yeah.
So the end of the like the beginning of the 90s, and then obviously I got into warehouse parties, and one thing that I want to hit on is the fear factor. There was no, like, basically back in the day, you had no fear. You had no fear. You'd get in a rave, and like even as a younger, like being around the olders, do you get what I'm saying?
But
like,
even back then, like in them days there, if you got caught by the police, they'd kick the shit out of you.
Yeah, of course.
But now the police can't touch you.
Yeah, obviously they can't touch you, and then there's a lot of things that come in between that. But I think as a younger growing up and going into the rave scene, it was like, wow, like you said, that experience, this is something new and whatever. But you just have no fear, man.
Would that be part? But when you're younger, you kind of. Young people don't really.
Yeah, well, you are more fearless when you're young.
You kind of learn fear, don't you? It's kind of taught, man.
Yeah.
That's like a parent like fusses over every time his kid falls. The kid's gonna be like all jumpy all the time, isn't it? Whereas if you say you're all right, get up, the kid's not gonna be as fearful of
like
getting hurt.
Internet as well brings that fear as well, because like news used to take a little while to travel around, and you hear of things on the news if you're watching the news or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think now, like where there's so much,
everything's just there.
Things in the world happen, and you just find out the next day, and it brings that thing. So as a father of 4, like my kids go out now, I'm worrying because I know that when I was there, like what was my mum thinking or my dad thinking or whatever, but we just didn't have that fear factor. And I think that the kids now are more aware of that, and that comes into play a lot more. Like, oh, make sure you're safe. And I don't know, like that's why I want to hear opinions on it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. When I first started going raving, there was no fear, and I wasn't from London, but we'd go to Rex, we'd go to Bagley's, we'd go to ends that weren't where we was from, and we weren't fearful of doing that. Now certain people will say, oh, I can't go to that block, or I can't, or someone, or I'll be just shooting a video with someone, and they'll go, nah, I can't film at that block, and we'll go, no, it's a good place to shoot. No, I can't go to that block. That's Ops block, and there's all that kind of mentality now, the postcode thing. Whereas when we was going raving, it wasn't really about that. I mean, it's always been like areas don't get on with areas, but it wasn't as profound. And like
the great thing was back then is it didn't matter what area you were from or where you were from or what football team you supported. Everyone came together as one.
Yeah.
And you know, like
that was the beauty of it.
That was honestly, it was for me. I love the music, but that was the one key factor that made me go, this is me. And it was, you know, I didn't even know at them days I wanted to be a DJ. I didn't know I wanted to be in the industry. All I knew is I wanted to be in that party, wherever it was that weekend. And I always remember, it's a funny story, is that it was at one of Paul's parties in Goods Way in King's Cross in like about 88. And I remember this, there was this Dutch girl there and she come over and like beautiful girl, she come home, she held my hand and she went, come with me. And I'm 18 and I'm thinking, bloody hell, like I think I pulled it. And it wasn't, it was just her just being you know, peace and love. Do you know what I mean?
Just wanting to share her experience.
Summer of Love, was it?
Yeah. So she took me around to all these people and she'd be like, hey, meet this. And what it is I'd be meeting all these people and I'm like, oh, how long you know? No, they went, never met her before in my life.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, and when I used to go to college, right? I remember my mate Dylan, big up Dylan, I haven't seen him for years, but we got really good mates at college, right? And I remember I went to Rage in Land of Oz and I told everyone in my college, like, come tonight, it's going to be sick. They all got there. And then what I did was, I didn't realise this until he told me, but I would go, yeah, Dylan, come here, meet like Harry, and then Harry meet Dylan, and Tony come here, and I'd get all these people in a group and I'd get them to all introduce each other, and then I'd go, right, see you in a minute, and I'd walk off and he said, do you know, we all just stood there looking at each other going
yeah.
But I was just like, you know, talk mate.
You know, it did used to be like that back in the day, man. I remember just like from my own perspective, I think the first drum and bass rave I went to, my jungle drum and bass rave, was probably Astoria. I think it's Heat Fever. And it was like,
that was a mad rave as well.
All my mates were into drum and bass, and I liked it as well. But obviously, I was into hip hop, innit? And they was like, "You've got to come, bro. You've got to come." And I couldn't get into raves until I was 18 because you know, what I mean, still look good now. You know what I mean? I joke.
He still gets asked his ID. Turned up to a festival and they're like, "Excuse me, sir."
Yeah, you've seen it a few times, but not so much these days with a few greys in there. But like,
you put them in yourself, though, man, to give yourself some age.
Anyway, but sorry, I got off topic there. But so like, I couldn't go till I was 18. So literally, when I was 18, I went to the first one, and bro, I was just blown away. You was there, Skibbs, Det, Fearless, Ragga Twins, and what in my mind, as someone who'd watched loads of hip hop concerts, I've been to see Public Enemy, all the KRS-One, Method, everybody. I've never seen UK man jump on a stage and get that reaction. I've seen UK rappers support American artists, and people were just sort of waiting for it. No matter how good they was, they were just waiting for Method Man to come on. They weren't trying to show no love. They'd be like this, and but when these man come on, I was like, wow, this is UK people. These are people from down the road from me jumping on stage, and the whole place is going mad and reloads and all that. And from that time, I was addicted, bro. I would go sometimes go raving Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If there's a pyro thing on a Sunday in the West End, I go on a Sunday. If there was a little thing in Kent and Bexley on a Thursday, I go there. Atomics on the weekend if there weren't no big ones. World Dance, all these things breaking. I was just addicted to it. And like you said, I met so much mates who I'm really good friends with now, like Kieran, Scotty, all these people through just going raves and making connections with people. And I've been friends with these people for 10, 15 years now.
Do you remember do you remember the guy in Australia who hit us up before we went on tour there, and he went, I want to propose to my girlfriend on stage. Do you remember? And you know, like it's just, he actually, as for what he told me, is he met her at a rave, so he wanted to propose to her at a rave, and we brought him on stage and it was mental. Do you know what I mean? But there's been like this music and this community going back from, you know, back in the day has crafted some real long lasting like friendships. I mean, I met my wife, Sharon, I met her at Oscars in Clacton. I went up there for Jay Frenzik. You remember Jay Frenzik from Atmosphere magazine?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, Frenzik. So he had a rave up there, and I think Grant Epidemic might have been something to do with it, but don't know. But definitely Jay Frenzik booked me. I went up there and I just met Sharon, and I was just like instantly like, oh my God, this girl's amazing. You know, I hadn't even spoken to her. You know, I mean, I just looked at her and went, oh my God. And then, you know, and it was weird, even though she wasn't there she actually went with her mate. She wasn't there to go to the rave. She just went to just with her friend. And how weird is that? And
now you're married children. And I've got a similar story, man. Literally, I was, it was a Cool FM birthday.
No.
And I went to the studio. It was actually with Funstar. I went to the studio with him, and then we got back home, and like I thought, cool. And he goes, "Oh, Skibber can't make the party, man. Like, oh, can you come and MC with me, like in place of Skibbs?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, wicked, man. Cool. Come pick me up a little while later." We went there, done the party, and that's where I met Faye, who's who I'm married to now. Do you know what I mean? She was in the dance, and she told me as well. She nearly lost her ticket. She couldn't find she nearly didn't go either.
That's so mad.
So if Skibbs wouldn't have been in Germany and couldn't get back,
I think he was in Germany with me.
really,
Yeah.
Probably was, man.
I'm not joking.
Probably
Yeah, I
was.
think he
So
was.
these things in life that happen, and it's like without that rave, you never know if I would have met her. Do you know what I'm saying? The same as you.
It's like Zoe as well. When I met Zoe, obviously before, like we run across each other's tracks about maybe 5 or 6 times. She was a raver, and obviously I was an MC.
Yeah.
But we met each other like about 3 or 4 times in the raves. Like she'd see me, and she'd bar rumba and this place, and we never really connected. But it's mad. Years later,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
It
we
is
just
funny,
connected
innit?
through the
Crazy.
rave and the music. And
Lifelong connections, man.
That's what I'm saying.
At the
And-
deepest level.
And like I've got some really good friends. Like obviously we're all really good friends, you know what I mean? But I've got some other friends that are, that I have met, like Coatsy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's my boy. I love Coatsy.
yeah.
I met him. He was just hanging banners for Lloyd, and I just remember just having a chat with
connected
him,
with him,
and and he just
yeah.
like we just linked, and we've been really good friends since then. And there's loads of. I'm sorry if I.
There's so many, man. You look at me with Danny Jungleist. I met him at a boat party. Found out I was an Arsenal fan. He goes, "I got a spare ticket for that awful Bayern Munich game where we lost 5-2." But I linked up with him, went there. Me and him have been mates ever since.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's got me to so many gigs on point. You know what I mean? That's like family for life now.
Yeah,
so those
of
sort of
course.
connections. You got your
Yeah.
Webbies and
Yeah. Webby's top
I
boy,
mean,
man.
with one thing I have to mention about the old school raving and that as well was the connection in between. And for me, I started on pirate radio, innit? So that connection there was the middle gel between the rave scene. Because
So is there any people that you met at radio that you're still friends with now?
Oh, yeah, I knew all the people from Pirate Radio I grew up on the estate with and I'm still friends with now. Like, they've gone on to do other things. Some people are still in the music, different musics or whatever. But with the Pirate Radio, what I was saying is, like, it's more like you said, that secret world of the raving or whatever, but there was nothing in between.
Yeah.
So the radio was the only connection where you might see a man in the week, or
Yeah.
you might speak to a man on the phone line, or just hear them or whatever. But that was sort of like a landing point. Do you understand? In
But
between.
it's, in another way as well, record shops.
Yeah, record
they
shops
were
as well.
also
Yeah, good
like a
networking
community.
point,
Yeah, because I
yes.
remember I didn't know this until the other day. I was talking to Brian G, big up Brian, and he was telling me that he worked at MASH in Oxford Street.
Oh,
Do you
MASH,
remember
yeah,
MASH?
Yeah, I
He used
remember
to
that
be-
place.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was downstairs, and I.
It's a
what it
clothes
is-
shop, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
clothes shop, yeah.
And then what it is, he said to the guy that owned MASH, like, or something, they put like a record store in there.
Yeah,
And
they did.
I said to Brian, it's funny because there's like in the Brian, there's like me, it's all Chelsea guys, Brian G, New Elements, Swanee, Crafty, there's loads of us. Like, sorry if I forgot anybody else, Wisey, but IC3. And what it is Calix from, Calix Antique, they're both Chelsea. The thing is we were chatting in there and Brian was like, we were talking about the old record stores and he actually said about MASH and I said, bruv, I always remember MASH that you went in there and it always had like a bit of an edge to it. It was always like, and what it was, I didn't know that Brian was there.
Yeah.
It was like, he was there and I was like, yeah,
They
man.
used to play music behind the...
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Yeah.
You had Wicked Garms and that in there, man, back in the day.
sickest clothes.
They
And
did,
well, that's where you got your kickers and your raving clothes, really. Because
MASH was the spot, and then it was 4-Star General on Carnaby Street as well.
You know
Used to
what?
sell troop trainers and all them things there.
Lucky Spin.
yeah, that was another one.
What was another? That was the one you said in Southfields.
Not
Not Southfields.
Southgate.
Southgate.
Yeah, Mel's shop. Big up Mel and Doros.
They're veteran spots and it was like Music House was after.
Yeah.
But
where
that
they cut the dubs.
It was like a community place where you see people. You might even just see a DJ and you say, "Right, that man's there." And like I just find myself even as an MC, not a DJ, just going down there and loafing, like just to hang around that vibe because that's where you're gonna see everyone.
Yeah.
There was
Jungle Fever.
mate, them
problem
spots
is-
though were wicked, innit?
yeah,
There used to be like a shop called Liberty Grooves in Tooting for hip hop. That's where I met Big Ted.
Yeah.
That's where I met Shorty Blitz.
Yeah.
I know them man for years now, but that's where I first met all of them guys.
Where are
man.
these things now?
Yeah.
I guess I always say that we used to go record shops and like you say, you'd loaf there, you'd talk all day, you'd play the tunes and then man was getting all the imports in as well. So you'd be hearing the music first, or if it's Black Market, he's getting all the dubs and all the white labels, you know what I'm saying? It's like...
That was a buzz going Black Market on a Friday.
man.
And just watching them lot play tunes and it was crazy. I used to go down there and just collect flyers sometimes and it was like, what am I going down
You
there
had to
for?
collect all the flyers.
Yeah.
But right now, 2023, where can all the ravers go right now if they want to, you know, like, where's the sort of black markets and these spots?
There isn't a physical place. There's online forums, I guess, where they all talk and debate stuff, but that can get a bit toxic because, you know, like they come with a bit of crazy opinion. It just gets like name calling and all
also,
that.
Well, I think the thing is like, face to face, you're always going to get a different response out of someone than you do online.
Oh mate, I've said that to people before, and it's I like you in real life. I don't really like you online. Because you're just a bit, you're a bit different.
Well, yeah, you read it and you go, that ain't him.
That's not really how he talks.
But
man could have had a drink. You get me? Man could have just been like annoyed by saying Mrs. annoyed him, whatever. You get me? And he comes with something that ain't. He's channeling his aggression through that post. So you have to take him a pinch of salt, innit?
Yeah, it's like a hiding thing as well. People can't hide behind the internet. Where in real life, if you're face to face with them, it's just there and then, and you can see expressions, you can see all that.
Yeah,
you know
this is why I think like we
no point arguing with an egg.
Or a bot.
Which a lot of them are, isn't it? If you're an egg, you might be a bot, basically. You know what I mean?
And this is why we're trying to we are actually at the moment we are in talks to try and organise an actual live podcast where you can actually come and join us, so we can actually get that interaction with you. It's proven a lot more difficult than we want because you've got to get all the mics, the cameras, and everything set up and that. But we have the location. It's just about timing.
I'm also got to wait for my Jerry Springer outfit. Like, but yeah, that's gonna be a
Jerry Springer. He was a character.
Well. Yo, you're Steve, isn't it?
Yeah, you are Steve. Remember Steve? Steve got his own show, you know. Did he? And he was harsh, man. Steve would be gunning worse than Jerry, boy.
Oh, wow.
I used to watch that.
Jerry was massive, man. When that came out, that was a time, man. That was a time.
Bro, like people would just attack each other, innit? And everyone's like, Jerry, you're just cheering two people attacking each other.
Was it Steve? Or was it Steve?
Steve.
That show was mad.
I know he had a bald head and he was flipping hench, bruv.
And then he got his own show, didn't it?
But it was bare friendly on Jerry's show.
Not on his own show.
On his own show.
A lunatic.
It was a roof. Lunatic.
So, like, you know, like we talked about like the raving aspect between now and then. I mean, obviously, the best thing is, you know, we necessarily don't rave now like we used to back in the day. But, you know, from experience, from talking to people I know that go out, and what I find is a lot of things I've been hearing is like the kids the youngers seem to get bored a lot easier, quicker. And then this is like, you know, I'll tell a story. A friend of mine, Shane, I hope you don't mind me mentioning Shane, but he goes out hard. Yeah, he's like out every week, and he's like, yeah, I'm going out here, and I was like, bloody hell, bruv, you're going in. And do you know what? I spoke to him about 5-6 weeks later, and he's like, I'm like, where are you going? He's like, oh, I've had enough. And I was like, what, already? And he's like, yeah, he just like, I was going to give it a break for a little bit. And you know, whereas in my generation, like we kind of was just, you know, as soon as Monday come, all I was thinking about was Friday. Or actually
for the weekend,
or actually Thursday night for rave.
Facts.
Probably
you know
up until 10 years ago, like even probably later than that, I just lived for the weekends, bruv. Like the weeks was just a myth to me.
Yeah.
I used to just do things, but my focus was just on like Friday to Sunday is when it's happening.
Yeah.
I might be flying out, I might be doing this, but I mean, it's different. As you get older, you know what I'm saying? You build a life out of raving, but back then it was just like, right, that's life for me. Do you know what I mean?
Was it the rave? The rave was our life.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So the whole, you know, the whole thing, the whole nine of being there and then seeing this progress to what it is today. I think I put a post up the other day. I done a video, and most of the comments was on there was about there was no phones back then. Like everyone was just holding up their phones in the raves now. But back then it was just about having a good time.
You know what? I hear what they're saying, but
about the phones,
about mobile phones. But I tell you now, I wish there was more people filming back in the day,
capturing what was going on.
Because when I put a post up maybe a week or two ago, me at Helter Skelter in 92, 93, and honestly, the thousands of views it got and the amount of comments, and I put up a post just like, you know, look, little did we know back then what we'd be creating, and 30 years later, and you know, it's such a shame because the video footage is so rubbish because the quality was just VHS, and
people
it was
probably are amazed by it when they look at it. They're like, wow, man, like,
how people were getting down, how caught up they were in the music. I think as well, when I used to go raving, like I think a little bit of a difference now was it was like you'd get a night, a One Nation or whatever, and you'd have Ed Rush and Optical, you'd have Dillinger, you might have a magistrate. You know, you'd have different types of drum and bass throughout the night. So it wasn't all, you know, a man coming on and doing an after-go bootleg and the next guy doing this bootleg and then 1,000 rumble bootlegs and just drops. And you know what I mean? It was, the music was different throughout the night. The music took you on a bit of a journey. Do you know what I mean?
Like you're talking about when you're talking about all drum and bass people. I can even take it back further with things like slamming vinyl at the Sanctuary, where they'd have like Dougal.
Oh, and on the same stage?
Yeah, on the side. Then it'd be like me playing after Dougal, and then after Dougal's, after me, Seduction. Yeah. So and then after Seduction it'd be DJSS, and then after Seduction it would be Slipmat.
I kind of know what you mean, actually.
And then Groove Rider playing.
I get what you're saying, bro. Because the first rave I was ever taken to, because I was thinking the first rave I went to as a consumer was actually the Fever thing. Yeah. But the first rave I was taken to, my friend Destruction was DJing for MCMC in the rush hour. And that was like that at Sanctuary. It was different styles of music on that stage, and they'd come on and do their thing. Yeah. And then you're right, it might be hardcore after. Yeah.
And do you remember, like, they used to have in the other arena, so what they do is they'd have hardcore in one arena and jungle in the other, and then they'd switch it and have jungle in this arena and hardcore, and you just see that 10 minutes at the start of the set, the crowd would sort of switch over, except for the just music lovers. They would be plonked up and they would have it, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it was.
And I think today in the modern day music, I think there's the best people, I believe, to do that at the moment in 2023. Well, I can only talk about 2022 and 21. Bass Fest do that, where they'll have like us play and we'll do drum and bass and we'll do our thing.
I think we came on after D Block Europe one time, and that's so different from what we do, but both sets work to the audience.
It absolutely smashed it. And then they have Jamie Duggan on after. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, they do it really well.
It would go like, bassline, hip hop, drum and bass. Didn't we go on after... what's them guys from
Bugsy
Sheffield?
Malone?
Yeah, we done Bugsy. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, them
after Bugsy,
multi-cross lineups and We Are Fest and all that. Like, they do different things, and I think they always work because you're just giving the raver more options, like what they're into as well. Like the kids are into different things now, but pretty much back in the day it was like that as well. Like you said, you had the hardcore, and when I got into it, it was like acid warehouse. Yeah, that's what it was. It was a secret society. Do you know about this party? Like go to the phone box, get all this information. So it's just progressed, and I suppose now people are just doing different lineups just to see what works. Like when you hear one thing all night, no matter what it is, it gets a bit. Do you know what I mean? It can get a bit boring.
Just going back to, we were talking about MASH. Like when I say you used to go to places like MASH to get, you'd have the raving clothes. Someone said to me recently, I don't know if we touched on this on a podcast, and he said to me that, when back in the day you could look at somebody and you knew what style of music or what they were, if they were a raver or a punk or they were a goth or whatever. But now everybody just looks the same. Yeah, they've all got the straight haircut. They've all got the bags.
Maybe to a certain extent, you could say that, because I remember back in the day when we was going out, everyone had to wear mosh. Yeah, everyone had to have the Moschino shirt. Do you know what I mean? That was a like so you kind of knew a junglist if they was if they had the Moschino tracksuit and all that.
Before that, it was when the warehouse parties, like you didn't care what you wore.
Nah,
like you could just have That's why I think it was so unique and so special, because it didn't matter about your skin color, it didn't matter about this and that, and these things come into play later on, like you can't go there or you can't do this. But back then it was just like all these people under one roof just dancing and doing what they want in this scene. But then you had your other scenes, probably like your before garage, like even come about, like in UK or whatever. You probably had different things where like R&B nights where you had to put shoes on, or you couldn't go to the club, this and that.
Yeah, you remember that days?
No tracksuits. But there was an era. Like
actually, wasn't there an event? Sorry to cut you. Wasn't there an event recently where you weren't allowed to wear jeans or tracksuits? Wasn't that in
D&B?
Yeah,
I see that on the flyer the other day. There's no tracksuits, no hoodies, no this and that. So they're bringing that back in certain places now. It's like
certain venues,
It's like to get the people in the venue is one thing, and then when you got them in the venue, then you start, dictating. Certain venues just won't have it. Like they won't. You have to dress up. They're going to have no hoodies, no tracksuits, no trainers.
That's down to the venues as opposed to the promotions.
It's more like the UK garage thing, and like you said, that jungle era where everyone was wearing Moschino and dressing up to jungle. Or whatever. Like,
you wanted to be identified as a junglist.
Just to impress. You know that one there, just to impress. So, because like there was a thing about
actually that used to be on
look
flyers.
A bit trampy, like they're going in the rave. No disrespect, but they look at like it just be a punk look or whatever, but it just didn't fit in with the clubs what they was putting the music into. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
no, I just think it's another thing I wanted to touch on as well is we used to rave all night. But now it just seems to be like rave all day. Even like when we're talking to Fabric about the upcoming Mike Master show, you know, they said, right, what time are you going to start? 11 p.m. and finish at 6. And we was like, no one raves all night no more. It's like, it's a daytime thing.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And so like
more daytime parties.
Yeah, the event is like 2 till 10. And I do get it, because I remember saying years ago, like, I can't wait to a time where we do 2 shows and then back home at 10:30, 11 at night for kebab and match of the day. And even though I did say it in jest, I didn't think it would actually happen, but it's actually happened. It's actually
habit.
really going on. Yeah.
People's habits change, and then since lockdown, they're just getting in even more. Like, probably it was before that, because I noticed this about 5-6 years ago when I was doing stickies. Was getting complaints about the amount of noise on the street and people coming out and spilling into the roads. And then we had a thing, and the club was on this thing about, do you know what I mean? Like, these people are, like, the government are complaining, and it's
and local councils and that as well.
They want everyone inside. So that when the festival, obviously around the same time, the festivals hit off as well. Yeah. Probably a little bit before that, and then the festivals, you can rave all day, listen to all your music, be indoors, like you said, at 11 o'clock. There's no trouble at night. There's no noise at night, and that's it in for the police. That's
I get that.
Yeah, that's
And do you think as well, like with the festivals, what they did was they sort of created a new behaviour with the supporters and the ravers and the people that come out, and then clubs are thinking now, well, look, if this is what people want to do, we've got to update our format to cater for that behaviour and how they want to come to the party.
100%. And also, I've always believed this, that that the police, that you know, they don't want to be putting people on the street, like, you know,
that time of the
managing clubs. I always remember I got
noise control is the worst, because neighbours, people always complain. They're just like, oh, I can't take this noise, and then that's how venues lose their license. Do you know what I mean?
You know what? I have a story. Like, I remember I got in trouble when I was a youngster. About in 1988, 89. I got nicked, and I was in the police cell, and basically I was talking to the police officer, and I went, "Can I ask you something?" And he went, "Yeah." And I went, "Have you noticed that Saturday nights in the area have got, like, they're not as rowdy as they were?" And he went, "Yeah, I do." And I didn't say nothing. I went, "Oh." And he went, "Why is that?" I don't know. But in my head, I was thinking, that's ecstasy. Everyone's coming out of the club. They're not like wanted to, you know, they're not all drunk and wanted to kill each other. They're all like hugging each other.
People's habits changing, and since lockdown, like I say, it impacted it more, because people was like used to like doing nothing, and then like, you know, like just living their lives again, where the rave scene was pretty much taken away from us. People's habits changed, and that is come out of lockdown.
Are you talking about from the pandemic?
Yeah, from the pandemic. From the lockdown. So it's like, you know, like you might. We all used to going out all night and doing our thing before that, but we was doing festivals and doing daytime parties. But I think since then, it definitely like push that daytime thing more. People are just used to doing that now, and they want to get up in the mornings as well.
Well, that's the thing. I think people do want to get up the next day and have a day. I mean, when we did the Warehouse Project the other day, we got back about 8, 9 in the morning.
Yeah, you man, I got back at 10 a.m.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, my next day was I had
to do Leicester that night as well, man. It was tough, man.
Into that next day, ain't you? Like,
it is. It's tough.
Stay up.
Yeah,
you know
it's tough, man. I was going to say, like, people as well, like, you got to think during the pandemic, to touch back on that, certain people touched 18 while that was going on in that 16. We did no shows for 16 months, I believe. I think it was 16 months in the end. So if you turned 18 in that period, you're not used to going out either. You're used to being indoors. Do you know what I mean? So it's not part of, you know, when you get 18, you go out, you start living it up, you go crazy for the first 6 months. A lot of those kids didn't have the opportunity to do that.
It's so sad, man.
And loads of other things. Their parents as well would be probably a lot safer to know that their kids are out and they're coming back at 11 or 12 than turning up.
Well, you can even pick them up, can't you?
Yeah.
Even if they're 18, they live with you. You could obviously, if they're, you know, they come to Mike Masters. Well, I think they're over 19 for that one, but you know what I'm saying? You can just drop them there in a day, come pick them up. It's like sport that, man.
That's right. That's right. Or you can order them an Uber from our last pod.
You know what I mean? Book a cab and do all that, and it's a lot more safer as well, because people just feel like you know, like 5, 6 and 4 in the morning, don't know who's roaming around at that time.
Yeah, it's always earlier on. Yeah, I used to like being out at them times because it was that, innit? Like that, just that. Like, it was just mad being out.
It was almost like that. You know, like, oh, everyone else is at home asleep.
And we're out this. That goes to that sort of secret society thing. That, like, there's only a few of us out here doing this, and that's what kind of made it special, man, as well.
But,
you know what I mean? But things change over the generations, innit, man? Everything evolves, man.
You've got to change with it. So, I mean, let me ask you both a question. Do you prefer to like rave in the day now, or prefer at night, or you don't care? You just rave the whole lot, 24 hours?
Honestly, I think you can't beat an all-night rave. Like, it's got that thing, like, looking at all the errors and been there and gone through loads of different time schedules and being, you know, the graveyard shifts are always, they're hard, but you know, like we love, like as DJs and MCs, they're part of the game.
You know what though?
You know what I mean?
The thing is, there's something I think people don't realise, yeah? If you know, like when it's an all-nighter, it starts 10 p.m. and it finishes at 6 a.m. You know, if you get that 5 to 6 set and you've got no other show that night, you're screwing. That's the graveyard shift.
That's
Do you know what though?
But your agent shouldn't be putting you. If you've got no other work, he shouldn't be putting you 5 till 6.
No, but sometimes it's just the way things happen.
But I've had shows. I've got to do the 5 till 6 in Bristol because I've got something else.
Yeah.
The other thing gets postponed or cancelled, and you've still got to do that 5 till 6. I've done that before.
It's different for MCs though, because you can kind of just jump on with anyone. With DJs, it's a little bit more set. You know what I mean? But,
it's getting more and more set these days, though, with MCs as well.
You know, like when you do an all-dayer, say starts at 2 p.m, finish at 10 p.m, that 9 till 10, where in people's heads are like, oh yeah, it's the pinnacle set. No, man, that's the 5 till 6 set in the morning.
Back in the day, like you said, people used to stay to the end. So
yeah,
the 5 to
that
the
was
6
an honour
set
actually
was,
back then.
Not anyone could do the 5 to 6 set. Like I remember going AWOL and that. And it was the Randalls and the, you know, the top DJs at that time would play at that set and you'd stay for that. You'd stay to hear that.
I see promoters doing that actually, putting certain man on late because they know that ravers are going to want to stay for that energy set.
And I played for a group, a company many years ago called Energy, and they did in 1992 they did the Coventry Eclipse, and Seb called me, big up Seb, and he turned around and he went to me, how would you like to do the closing set to Energy 4:30 till 6? I mean, obviously I was bloody gassed. I went, yeah cool, because that wasn't on a set at them times there, you know what I mean? But if he phoned me now, I'd be like, bruv, you got 1 till 2.
I remember I was with Skibber once, man, and somebody new was moaning about doing it. Weren't you with Shab, was it? It weren't Shab, I'm joking. It was someone moaning about doing the 5 till 6, and Skip said to me, do you know how many 5 till 6s I've done shots? Like, you know what I mean? And was pleased to do every single one. And that's the attitude that will carry you forward.
I love a 12 to 1 though.
You know what? You used to always say to me, like, what time are you playing? 12 to 1, 1 till 2?
If I'm working with him, I know it's 12 till 1 or 1 till 2. I just know it.
I love that time, man. Just catch them early.
12 to 1's
set
got
them
to be
up
my
for the rest of the
favourite
night. Set them up for the rest of the night.
That's a good one. What's your favourite time to MC at? Mine's definitely 12 to 1.
My favourite time to MC is definitely 1 till 2. My favourite time to DJ is 12 to 1.
I kind of like 1 till 2 or 2 till 3 because I think that's the peak period. Do you know what I mean? I think 12 till 1 is nice as well because everyone's getting excited. The vibes started flowing. So I probably, from 12 till 3 is like the time to come and do your thing. Yeah, definitely, man.
All good. So I think, well, if
it'd be good to hear people's views on this.
Like for instance, the daytime thing. Do you prefer the daytime rave? Do you think there needs to be more? Because we listen to people as well. It's like certain people have been coming up to me in raves and saying, "Oh, I wish your podcast was longer," because obviously we chop them up and stuff. And we listen to that, man. You think the last one we did was like 50 minutes? I think this one's a little bit longer. So we do listen to your feedback and we take it.
Do you like to rave all day or rave all night? Don't you have a lyric about that?
Raving all day, raving all night. I slip the day in there, but. I weren't, when I read that lyric, I weren't raving in the day. I must have seen the future AI business.
I've been with him in the day. He's bloody raving all day. 24-hour party over here. So listen, we're going to leave it there. Yeah, this is SaSaSaS, Life and Laughter. You know what? It's been an absolute pleasure. Don't forget to subscribe, like, hit the bell, share, do all of that stuff. Come on, man. Listen.
Spread the word.
Peace.
SaSaSaS. Beats and bars, fresh. Don't know we're heavy. The best of the best of the best. So awesome if they're ready. Yes. SaSaSaS. Beats and bars, fresh. Don't know we're heavy. The best of the best of the best. So awesome if they're ready. Yes.